January 22nd meeting to order. All rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll open up for public comment. Anybody have anything? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes for January 16th, 2018.
Move to approve as submitted.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded for approval of the minutes for 2016. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Move on to Commissioner's update.
Business as usual, had different people contact me on some different items, but pretty quiet other than that.
I attended the LEPC meeting and the Health Board meeting.
I went to LEPC as well and the Health Board. We also had a Trust Board meeting and updated them on the silos, the search and rescue plan, and it sounds like they are putting together a proposal for the storage unit plan. And also with the Recreation Board, we'll have our meeting this week with Jerry Gravens, who's going to help us through that whole process of switching everything over. Also met with Department of Corrections and the Montana Board of Crime Control. That transition is still, it's official now, but we still don't know if we have a number of the grants that are used to fund many of the prevention services that we have around the state. We also have a phone call today on that. But it's with the National Criminal Justice Association. I don't know if the federal shutdown will have a bearing on that. But that's to try and get those JAG funds, which is the Drug Task Force funds, reallocated. And that's nationwide. Montana uses ours for drug task forces. Not everybody uses it the same, but with an opioid crisis, it seems to me it's the time to have more funding for that, not to cut it. And there was one other meeting, I can't remember what it was, so there you go, that's it. And if you guys have any questions at all. Mike, we signed the minutes. Thanks, Ann.
I'll go through a little bit of mail. No COS review today. From the Montana Association of Counties. Here's the grant money from the Coalition of Forested Counties, $2,500.
Excellent. That is for the Johnny Crow project. So we, Broadwater County with Jefferson County and a number of collaborating agencies like the Elkhorn Restoration Group and Elkhorn Working Group did an amicus brief to be a friend of the court for a logging logging project in the Johnny Crow. So we have a grant to help pay for the attorney.
Does that go for our legal for the amicus deal, or does that go to the project itself?
No, it goes to the legal. We're splitting the cost with the Elkhorn, or the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. We just have to come up with a 10% cash match, which is $250. That's all it's gonna cost Broadwater County. And then we have 20% in kind, which I think we've already hit.
Mike, can I make a comment about that?
Yes.
I didn't know that was on your agenda. But anyway, just from this volunteer standpoint, working on these landscape committees, we really appreciate the support of the counties stepping forward and going after this, because there probably wasn't any way we could fund it ourselves. I mean, it would have been just out of our pockets. We didn't have the access that you guys had. And so we really appreciate that. There's, I don't know, there's probably around 15, I think, entities were signed on to that brief with the Elk Foundation and with the county. So it's a very broad scale effort, and it's yet to be seen how we do, but I certainly want to pass on thanks for
You bet.
stepping up and taking the lead on
Next one is a letter from Fish, Wildlife and Parks. All concerned parties of February 13, 2018 at 2 p.m. The Department of Fish, Wildlife, Parks will hold a public hearing at the Fish, Wildlife and Parks headquarters meeting, 1420 East 6th Avenue, Helena, Montana, to consider the proposed adoption of the above rules. Matter of adoption of rules number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 pertaining to wildlife habitat noxious weed grant programs.
And do you mind if I take this out and just run it up to Doug after the meeting? I don't want it to get lost.
Verizon Wireless bill for commissioners for $96.76. Northwest Energy bill senior citizens. Northwest Energy bill silos campground. Let's see those.
I saw those.
Accept a motion to pay the claims in the amount of $322,954.29.
Move to pay the approved claims in said amount.
No second.
Motion's been made, second to pay approved claims. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same.
Hi.
Morning.
Morning.
Thank you. Thanks, Anna.
Letter from the Helena National Forest. Cooperative law enforcement agreement between Broadwater County and U.S. Forest Service. Requires a couple signatures. And also the cooperative law enforcement annual operating plan and financial plan requiring signatures. This is for the contract for law enforcement in the forest.
Is it already signed by Wynn?
Yes.
All right, then I move that we follow the lead of the sheriff. I know he's been working on this for a while, and sign the contract as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to sign the contract, cooperative law enforcement contract with the U.S. Forest Service. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
We could do that, you betcha.
Entertain a motion to approve journal adjustments for November.
Move to approve, set of adjustments.
Second.
Motion's been made and approved to approve journal adjustments for the month of November. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
We each go through those during the time that they're in Doug's office, which is usually a couple months, period, and initial them all, so just to let you know that process. And Mike, you should be signing on the top page here, just for the auditors, that states that they were accepted, or there's a stamp that we have, which is something that shows that we did vote on them.
I think they're getting it made.
We have one, might be on that bookshelf behind Franklin.
Is that stamp?
Approved is what it says, yeah.
See, this is that stamp over there. I don't see it over
I don't see
there.
it over there.
Or the ink.
It has its own ink.
I don't see it
In
on
it.
the shelf.
It's kind of the packet that goes from chairman to chairman, so Franklin had it last year, would be with the clock and the gavel.
I don't have it. All I have is the clock and I don't understand.
Okay, we'll have to find that.
Okay. Anything else anybody wants to bring up while we're waiting for Coco?
We could ask her to come a few minutes early if you wanted, if she's ready.
changing up some details.
We could adopt the resolution, or the proclamation.
Move ahead to this proclamation special recognition of Pat McKelvey. Broadwater County, Montana proclamation is special recognition of Pat McKelvey for his many years of service reducing wildland fire fields. A resolution proclaiming the beginning of the 2018 fire field mitigation season. Whereas wildfires in Montana have had and will continue to have significant impact on the lives, property, safety, and well-being of every Montana, and whereas the residents and property owners of Broadwater County share in the responsibility for making their home and community fire safe, and whereas the residents and property owners of Broadwater County must be prepared for a wildfire event with an evacuation plan, and whereas the residents and property owners of Broadwater County must prepare their home to survive a wildfire, and whereas the residents and property owners of Broadwater County must act now to mitigate the effects of wildfire on their homes through hazardous fuel reduction, ignition resistance construction, landscaping, and maintenance. Now therefore be resolved by the County Commissioners of Broadwater County, Montana, that henceforth on the 25th day of January will be proclaimed the beginning of the annual fire fuel mitigation service in honor of Pat McKelvey.
I move to sign that proclamation.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to sign the proclamation, special recognition of Pat McKelvey. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. 10:30, Joe Smouse, Road Matters in Township 9 North, Range 1 West decision.
Yes, thank you. I don't know, I'm not too up to speed. I was trying to get with Nicole and see if she had your county attorney weigh in on the information I provided her, if she's had a chance to do that. So I guess that's not the case. I'm not even aware if the board has had a chance to review the information.
I didn't give them anything, no.
Okay. Okay, well, what I've discovered is basically 3 county roads that have been lost to history in the county and therefore neglected by the county through, I guess, for various reasons. It seems that the primary reason for that is that the main road that provides me and the public immediate access to the Canyon Ferry Reservoir, the petition to adopt the road as a county road from 1887 is of record in the minutes and on file in your clerk and recorder's office. That was filed in February, but it was laid over until March. After a complete detailed research into your documents and whatnot, I couldn't find anything where no record of that in March where it was laid over that it was addressed. So I started asking some questions and thinking, and I actually approached Ann about possibly those documents could be in Jefferson County, and Ann said, yeah, sometimes there are documents from this county in Jefferson County because of the old county of Jefferson, which included the area of Broadwater. So I visited the clerk and recorder's office in Jefferson County, and I did discover the petition and where it was marked on the petition that it was laid over. And then I was able to get into the minutes of the March meeting, and in that March meeting, the petition was addressed, and it is written on the face of the petition, road petition, Beaver Creek, Boulder City, I can't really read that. Oh, March 1887, prayer petitioners granted, viewers appointed, and and then somebody signed it. So I referenced the county commissioner's journal after finding the petitioner, and I actually have the adoption, which is on book D, commissioner's minutes, page 123, which is these are all certified copies, and the official adoption is there. The description, which is quite more than I usually see in these old petitions. I was quite amazed. The description of the road is quite accurate, along with it matches what I found as well from May 31st, 1887, the report of the viewers, which is also recorded in the records of Jefferson County. And again, the viewer's report matches the description that's in the commissioner's minutes, the last paragraph. There's the same description. From the petition, I noticed that there is a little bit of tweak in the prayed for legal to what they provide in the viewer's report, which is reflected in there, and that is simply that referencing where the road would come across the foothills and connecting to a county road. Instead of saying Filson's, they say Moran's. I did the research in your records, and Moran's had 2 homesteads. Moran's and others had 2 homesteads. Moran's had a place in the vicinity of section 25 and 6, but they also had a place in section 6, which is reflected on this 1899 map that I also found that describes and shows the roads that are on the petition. And if you look in reading the description on the petition, minutes, and viewer's report match this map and basically address a road from the Lewis and Clark County line to a point close to the Moran, or the Dianthony, because he was the primary petitioner, the Dianthony house, and then a description from that point to the Ike Hall house, and Hall also had a homestead in the vicinity of section 25 and 26, and also this, which appears to be 80 acres in section 6 here. So these people between the Stadlers, Kaufmans, Deegans, all these names are on this old map. And I showed this map to my kids, and boy, the youngest was convinced it was a pirate's map. And there's quite the story about how I discovered this map, but it wasn't where it was supposed to be. It was in a big book, 24 inches by 28 inches, big old map book, you know, canvas painted. And I'm going through there hoping I'm going to see or find what I'm looking for, and I get to a point in the book where all the pages just go blank. And I'm like, oh no, so I start thumbing through hoping that one of these is filled out. Well, this map, one of the pages, it floats out of the book, goes up in the air, floats down, and lands face down at my feet. And I bend over and I pick it up and turn it over, and it is the map that I am looking for. It was just amazing. And for this map to be in that book where it shouldn't have been in the first place, and then have it be dated from the same area, 1899 to 1919 is the book that it came out of, but it shouldn't even have been in that book. The book that this map came out of, I believe, is the old county road book for Jefferson County, but there's no other records of that book. It's just this one page is in existence. We find nothing, no other pages, no other books that contain drawings and maps like this. But again, this is certified. I'm going to pass that around, and it does match everything. And I have more copies of everything here if you guys would want. Any questions?
Not yet.
Okay. I see Mike going over the map there. You'll notice the two roads that are labeled to Spokane. In the petition, it prays for those two roads. The first one takes off at the Hall residence, from the county line, and the second one, which is actually, the course of the second road is to match that of what is known as the Red Hill Road, and that Red Hill Road is actually the road that's shown on the 1867 Geological Survey map. Copies of those as well.
This is the one that goes down through these colored sections.
Yeah, this would be.
This is the Red Hill Road here.
This road existed, that runs down the length of the valley, Red Hill Road. This would be the Dianthony Road, what I would call the Dianthony Road. And then this road was the second, in the petition, it's the second road to be prayed for. And this is the first. Now in the commissioner's minutes, it's the first road addressed, and then this road is in the commissioner's minutes addressed second. And that is to come down to the house about the moraines here somewhere and take off and follow with such deviation, follow the Red Hill Road with such deviation as necessary to a point in the vicinity of the Spokane house. Well, the Red Hill Road is referenced in several documents that are of record in your minutes. The Red Hill Road is mentioned in several adjacent property owner deeds. It's referenced, Loeffler Road is referenced, and Red Hill Road are referenced as legal descriptions for particular tracts of property. So Red Hill Road, the road to Middle Ferry somehow evolved as Red Hill Road, and I think it's because of mineralization in the hills there. In the petitioner's minutes, they reference the road over Red Mountain or Red Hill. But anyway, you can see that this is the 1867 GLO, and I've highlighted in green. I have copies. I've highlighted in green what is the road to Middle Ferry, which again is known as the Red Hill Road, and the corresponding map for that is 9 North Range 1 East. I've also highlighted in green, and if you look, it's obvious that this map I previously showed you was drawn from this GLO because it matches it to specifically. But at the time the GLO surveyors were in there was 1864. The petition had not come into effect until 1887. So the two roads are not referenced, but Red Hill Road most definitely is. And you can see with very particularly this shape on the GLO map here. It's the same exact area, and then this would be the road highlighted in green. The lower road south of the Lewis and Clark County line is the first road coming in above that in section 6. And yet, even more proof of the road and its existence and construction on the ground is the 1950 USGS survey, which is reflective of everything that I've showed you so far, which shows the road in its entirety highlighted in green. That road in its course, direction, and I guess presence is also shown on your county map in the hall out here. Somebody knew that road was there in this county because it's on the map. I don't know if that's a county road map or if it's just a county with all the roads shown, or a county map with all the roads in the county shown on it. But there are indications where a connecting road that comes off Red Hill Road and intersects with what is now Filson Lane was abandoned in like 1926, and that abandonment is shown on the map. So my conclusion to this is that if the petition had been executed and properly delivered to Jefferson County that adopted the Dianthony Road, your records researchers that built that map that put open, closed, abandoned roads on it would have found that petition, and they would have also mapped this road as a county road to be known as a county road, because we have the petition, the viewer's report, and the official adoption, and that's all it takes to make a county road. Here's a copy of, again, I have several of these, I don't want to take up too much time, but this is a copy of a deed between the Brooks family and the L.F. Baum family, dated 10th of July, 1944. This would have been 65 years after the adoption. And this property legal description doesn't touch or cross the Dianthony Road, but it does affect or cross the Red Hill Road and the Loeffler Road, which are both mentioned in the legal description, which I've highlighted. Another deed on the third page from, oh, sorry, I think this is from 1987. Well, darn, it's from 2003 that mentions the Loeffler Road and the Red Hill Road. Mike, I don't know if you need a copy, but I've left plenty of copies. Now, as the board's aware, I have addressed Mr. Cox in respects to the Loeffler Road. And he's a little bit adverse to the county road, coming through the middle of his spread. I contacted him, and stated it's not my intention to rustle his feathers. I'd like to be a neighbor, get along with them, but he just became argumentative, and I told him to call me back when he cooled down. Since then, after that date, I found the petition, the adoption of the Dianthony Road, which, even though it does cross Cox's property, it provides the less, to me, it appears to me, would provide the least amount of disturbance to his area that he has going on, because it crosses in the northwest quarter up in the dry land rather than through the stretch where he's, where the road comes through, where he's in his irrigated land. But I must reference yet another deed, a warranty deed from Lillian Emmer Schmidt, through her estate, Reinald Schmidt, where Cox purchased that property, that they're complaining of the road crossing. And this deed makes that property subject to rights-of-ways and county roads, and all easements of record. And it was recorded on Book 58, page 379, in the records of Broadwater County. Sorry. Let's see if I can find a date here. Nine 1974. So Mr. Cox purchased his property with county roads on it and was aware of it.
Ask a question. So, and I haven't met yet, Mr. Schmalz, I'm Corey Swanson, I'm the county attorney.
Oh, hi,
So-
Corey. Nice to meet you.
So your contention is that it was adopted as county road, under Jefferson County, when we were still Jefferson County.
We were still a territory.
Okay.
Yes.
And then, so, kind of what happened after that? I mean, was it maintained? Was an easement recorded anywhere? Anything like that?
Yeah, the road was and I'm particularly speaking towards what meets my access needs is the Dianthony Road, which is the road that's described in the 1887 petition, which the adoption was, I believe, in March of that year, and the description is very accurate compared to other descriptions of that era. That petition, again, was adopted by Jefferson County, the old county, in 1887, and properly recorded and adopted. Now, had the road ever been maintained? Hell, I know. I mean, it's 120 some years old. But I do know this, the road's clearly visible on the ground. I've traveled the road over the course of the last 20 years more than once. The direction and course is laid out in the petition matches, again, what's on the ground. It matches historical documents published by the United States government. It matches historical documents published by the county in an 1899 survey map, if you will. And it also matches what's out on your wall up here is the county road. So,
Yeah. So I'm doing research on a whole other chunk of other roads, not in this area.
okay.
And a couple things that we've looked for, because there are roads out there that are, other roads that are in the same boat. That at some point, way back, and this is pretty far back, roads were adopted by Jefferson County. Some it's not entirely clear how far they got, and so we're looking at a lot of other historical data that helps. And so a couple things that I have looked at in other roads. One is there any record of abandonment from
None.
Jefferson or Broadwater?
None.
Another is there any impact on road status in this area because of Canyon Ferry Reservoir coming in?
I do, yes, I can answer that, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I did email Nicole a document. In my research, I researched the documents pertaining to the construction of the dam, filling the reservoir boundary and whatnot. And in one of the documents that, I didn't bring a copy, I apologize, but Nicole can furnish that document. It's a publication from the United States Park Service in cooperation with the Bureau of Reclamation and BLM. And in that document, basically lays out a management plan for recreation for the lake and whatnot. But the conclusion of that document is that, quote, Canyon Ferry and Winston Roads, plural, roads, are to remain open for public access to the reservoir. Now, today if you look at a map, in the Winston area, there's only one road to the lake that's currently known until, I guess, today, and that would be the Beaver Creek Road at White Earth. It's obvious to me that, well, that was in '49, the government publishes a map in 1950, and they published yet a second road, besides Beaver Creek Road would be here, and here is the Dianthony Road. And this is the road again that's shown on your calendar.
Which one's Beaver Creek?
Beaver Creek is, yeah, this would be Beaver Creek here. And this would be where Middle Ferry was, I mean, here off of Red Hill Road, but.
Okay.
So again, this is just one of those things that, well, if you're researching roads in the county, you know a lot of them slipped through fingers and weren't properly documented. But of all the roads that I've ever had to deal with in my career, this road particularly is the best documented that I've found. Not only do I have all of the information required by statute to adopt the road as a county road, I actually even have a map that names off property owners that actually signed the petition, and it shows that road in the vicinity of their ownership.
Okay, so another thing we looked at is, we found road maintenance schedules from like the 50s and 60s that showed county, it was listed as a county road maintenance schedule, and it had these other roads listed.
Mhm.
Do you see anything like that on this?
I've never, I
Any
didn't go into pulling those type of records.
Okay.
No, I have not. I know that you probably won't find anything thinking about it because, again, the only road that I found of record until I went and found these documents that should have been transcribed and furnished to Broadwater County in the 1890s, at least, or 97 when the county was formed, was just this Loeffler Road. Well, as the board knows, and you probably know, this Loeffler Road was not abandoned, it was closed. And that Loeffler Road does connect with the Dianthony Road. So, historically, I think there was probably a stretch of time in this county for a very long time, especially when the county employed the engineer that Nicole told me that made their county road map. And on that map, it shows the various roads, and it shows, lo and behold, I have a copy of this 1926 petition of a short little piece of road that went from Filson Road and connected to the Loeffler Road, and then that road connects to the Dianthony Road, and but it shows that 1926 abandonment on that map, clearly indicating that the road's in between there. And in that petition, which was filed by Mr. James McMaster himself, he specifically states, and this was again in 26, yes, he specifically states that he's not abandoning the Red Hill Road or the Loeffler Road. Well, the petition, I guess you guys want to take more documents?
Actually, yes.
The petition specifically states that he is not abandoning those roads. And it shows again, I'll show you real quick.
So which one is Loeffler Road? You mean there's something else in the road?
Yeah, well, and I wasn't here to primarily speak about Loeffler Road, but, well, this would be Loeffler Road, yes. And in the petition map, I'll show the commissioners here in a minute, the commissioner's map shows, again, what was petitioned as Loeffler Road is this. And this L-shaped piece that is abandoned in this petition where he states he is not to affect Loeffler or Red Hill Road is on your map, and that's the petition.
The other thing that, so, the other thing I would suggest we look at, we found in some of these other roads that old management plans from Forest Service or other entities listed some of these other roads as county roads.
Okay.
There's some kind of a, I don't know what happened, there was about a 30-year period there when it doesn't appear to be anything official that, but it's, for some reason, everyone's understanding what those roads were just changed.
Mhm.
So if, do you have any bureau, that would be what I would suggest, is any Bureau of Rec or BLM management plans or anything like that from the, say, any time in the 20th century.
I haven't
That
found
would-
anything
that would-
like
But that would
that.
give a lot of good indication of how they understood those roads. Does that make sense?
Well, I think that their opinion of these roads is of no consequence. The road is clearly a legal county road. I mean, it don't get any clearer than this. I mean, it was petitioned, viewed, and officially adopted, and it has not been abandoned. So, and again, in the BLM's chain of title for the McMaster's Ranch, I have that too. Much of the property, I think all of the property, if I can find it, Lizzie Atkin, who owns substantially more property in the area, which the area originally was settled with about upwards of 20 homesteads. Those homesteads were staked out in the early part of the 19th century and weren't patented until like the late 1920s, 1928. Most of them is when they came into effect. Well, over the years, those people obviously sold out to Miss Atkins because she owned a majority of the property. Now, there's some record that she had married, it looks like she had married Mr. McMasters. They had a child upon Mr. McMasters Sr.'s death and her, I guess, later years. She ended up deeding the property to James McMaster, and that deed from her, that deed from her to McMaster, she specifically saves, accepts, and reserves the county roads in that deed. And I know you have a copy of it. Did you bring the copies?
I don't think I have a copy of what was her name?
It should be a deed from Lizzie Atkin, Aitken, to
I'm having Evangeline Brooks.
James McMasters. Might have been the only thing I didn't bring. But that's of record here. I found it. I could most definitely grab another copy of it. But let me look here.
This should be this, you wanna look at it.
But again, that's of no consequence because when you sell a piece of property that's transversed by a county road, you most definitely don't sell a road in that transaction. So, but I do, again, there is a deed that specifically reserves those, which is now across the public land. And I apologize, but I do not believe I brought my copy. And on top of the homestead settlements, there was active mining in the area. I have mining claim locations from 1901, 1902, where Mr. Fitzgerald, who eventually patented the Rose Lode, who was eventually acquired by James McMaster in a tax deed. One reference, over a 2-year period, he put in 800 and some plus days in locating 30 to 40 unpatented mining claims. Now, it doesn't take much of a scholar to assume that he got there on a county road to locate these claims. as did the Murrays that patented the fatigue load, which is located in section 1. Commerce in that day was from the river bottom out to Placer City. The GLO notes reference from 1867 says the only settlement in the area is the Spokane's house, and Placer City was right there. The railroad was commerce. It's not the reverse of where we're going to the lake. People were settled in that bottom. They wanted to get out of there, and for them to get out of there and to go really anywhere like we would assume we would travel today would be the railroad, and that railroad was at Placer City, which is right where Red Hill Road comes out. The Spokane house was there. It's prayed in the petition, and it's adopted by the commissioners that Dianthony Road will terminate in the vicinity of the Spokane house. So.
Can I suggest a way forward on this? So, first of all, this is an impressive amount of research. And it's possible, it's certainly possible that this is a county road and was just through the passage of years that no one knew it was a county road. I know this because I'm working, as I mentioned, I'm working on some other roads that we haven't finished the research, so I haven't brought it to you guys yet, but there's a process of because we're not the first county who's ever dealt with this, so there's a process of how you handle this, and when you do is you present it, and then the commission can declare something a county road, but you kind of have to rely on different levels of evidence, substantial evidence, or clear evidence, or whatever. And generally, what we would do is take all this stuff and make an analysis, and probably present a recommendation to the commission on, is this a county road, and if so, here's the evidence that supports that. There may be evidence that suggests otherwise, and so we would present that, so you guys can make a clear decision with everything that's before you. A couple things to keep in mind is there's some big events that happen jurisdictionally that could affect us. Number one is obviously we became a state in 1889, and then, I don't remember the exact year, when did Broadwater split off from Jefferson? Say again?
1897.
So in 1897, Broadwater County split off from Jefferson County. And that doesn't negate actions by the Jefferson County Commission. Those carry on unless then later the Broadwater County Commission abandons a road, for example. And you can close a road without abandoning it too. Another big issue that wouldn't be here but is in other parts of the county is in 1905, that's when